great to have you on. I've been following your Instagram and you post amazing content and have secured so many amazing deals. So I'm so excited to do this YouTube video with you. And just as an introduction for people who don't know you, yeah, if you could just give us a quick introduction, that'd be great.
Of course I can. Well, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be part of your YouTube. This is like one of my first YouTube videos, so that's cool. But yeah, if you've not met me before, I'm Katie from KO Estates, and we are a sourcing company that really just look at investment properties. So we've been growing that over the last year, and sourced kind of 90 properties in the last 6 months.
Oh wow.
Sold and sourced, so it keeps me very busy, but it's super fun. And then started to branch out into the education space now as well, to help people that maybe aren't ready to invest right now, and how they get themselves into a position that they are ready to invest, and everything we need to help with that too.
Yeah, perfect. The education side is such a must for me. People need to get educated in anything that they do. And I'm not saying become a course junkie, but just know the basics. And it's not that hard to spend some time learning about it. So I'm a massive advocate for that. But how did you stumble across property, and what made you go into sourcing?
Yeah, so I've kind of always been around property because both my parents are like very into it. They're investors themselves, but I really started KO Estates kind of like in lockdown, so it was kind of like a lockdown hobby type thing when I had a bit more time on my hands, and it started as a property blog. So it was never KO Estates, it was just like me. I was looking for my first house to live in at the time. And I was doing a lot of research, and as I was doing that research, I was just putting it out onto the internet, and probably at the time not many people were watching it. But yeah, I just started to grow like that. And then there was kind of probably one moment where we put a buy to let on the page on Instagram, and it got like a lot of views. So then a lot more people were coming to me going, oh, can you find me a buy to let like this? And that's where the sourcing came in then, because I realized there was a need for people to want a sourcer to find them the deals that I would be able to get. Especially a lot of my clients are from like down south, and being in the north, obviously they want to invest in the north for like the lower property prices, the higher yields, and I would be able to access those deals for them and then pass them on. So there was that's kind of where the sourcing started, and we just grew from there, really.
Amazing. And if you don't follow Katie or KO Estates on social media, your videos have been blowing up. And I guess, you know, with that attraction, I guess, how did you say, okay, yes, I'm getting a lot of attraction for people to, you know, for me to find buy to lets for them? What made you say yes to investors, and what made you say no to investors? Because I appreciate you probably don't work with everyone.
Yeah, and that's it. And some people kind of want you to do like everything for them. And like at the time I was still working full time, and I just didn't have the capability to bring in the build teams and do everything for them like that. So I had a very clear niche, and we did buy to lets that were tenanted, no work needed to be required, and they were just kind of ready to go walk-in investments. So we just concentrated on that, and there was a big demand for it, so then we just grew and grew. So we couldn't do it all on day one, but then as that's kind of going well, we want to branch out into the refurbs and developments and the flip side of things as well. So yeah, you can't say yes to everyone on day one.
Yeah, amazing. But they're still all following you, so hopefully one day you can help them, for those who can't actually, or you can't say yes to. But I guess you said you started during lockdown, which is phenomenal, because anyone starting in the property business during lockdown, we all kind of saw the ups and downs from that side, but there was a massive opportunity for you. How did you find properties with the lockdown restrictions, and how did that impact you starting out?
Well, I think we were really lucky in the fact like the industry wasn't put to a standstill, because that was one thing that people were still allowed to do, kind of buy property. And I know viewings were limited at points, but a lot of my audience, we tried to cater for that. So we were doing a lot of virtual viewings and doing everything we could digitally to make them feel really confident in the purchase. So it also kind of highlighted the fact that you don't actually have to live close to the properties, because at that time no one was traveling anywhere, but still every single buy-to-let in the country was still ticking over. And I think it was like a really big moment for landlords to be like, actually, I don't need to be located to the properties, because for the last couple of months no one's been able to move anywhere and I've still had the rent coming in. So that was kind of a positive, I guess, as well.
Amazing. And that's such a great way, because it's just the opportunity that it brings. Everyone was kind of saying, oh, we can't do X, Y, and Z. But if you actually just change one little part of it and just focus on the digital side, you can still make it work, and people still have money sitting in the bank that they just want to invest in. So they've just got to find a way, and doing it digitally and having that confidence makes such a big difference. What did you do to make sure that you were compliant and making sure that you were credible to work with investors?
Yeah, so there was definitely some compliance behind it. And obviously I never started saying that I wanted to be a sourcer, so that's all I did. I did have to learn all that. I mean, there's so many great free resources out there on the internet, but you've got to have like insurance, public indemnity, be part of the property ombudsman. So there's loads of things like that. But once you have that all in place, then you can like grow from there. So there's definitely things you need to consider. But yeah, like anyone kind of can do it. Like I had to research, and it is all out there on the internet for you. But yeah, you need to make sure you're covered, because I think I did kind of like stumble into it, and then I was like, hang on, this is what I'm doing. I need to make sure we've got everything right, otherwise it'll just come back to bite you.
Yeah, and that's such a big thing to touch on, is that the compliance and everything that you need to do just to make sure that you've got your back covered, because anything can go wrong in property. You know, you never know what the worst case scenario is until it happens. But yeah, just making sure that you are covered. And when you first got your investor, did they ask you all of these questions, or was it kind of, okay, hey, I've seen you're doing great things on social media, let's work together?
Yeah, I think it was a bit like mixed, depending on who the investor was, because we've got clients who were literally brand new to investing, never invested before, and they needed a bit more support. Like example, they'd never really heard of a sourcer before, which is understandable if you'd only ever purchased like homes to live in. So they like paying a sourcer's fee kind of shocked them a little bit, because it's always the estate agent that charges the seller rather than the buyer. But so yeah, there was an education around that to be like, well, we're working on behalf of you to make sure you get the best deal, whereas an agent is working on behalf of the seller to make sure they get the best price for the property. So there was definitely like education around there, whereas the more like senior investors who had done it before kind of knew what a sourcer was, knew what they were getting into, and had no issues on that side of things. So it was kind of mixed, but once you kind of educate people, and I think that's so important on the page as well, that we make sure we educate the whole way through, so people like really like know, like, and trust you before they just buy.
Yeah, amazing. And they have to know you and trust you and like you for them to buy, and that's such a key positioning for people. What is the best deal that you have done so far? I know you've done so many properties, but yeah, you must know the best one that you've done, or the most like creative.
Oh, we've done so many. The last one we sold last week was a Burnley property, and that was at 62,000. So I think that was the cheapest one we've sold. So as you can imagine, that was super popular. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, like especially people in London, they like lose their heads when you tell them you can buy a house for 62,000. So that was really popular. That was about 430 rental income, but it's all brand new refurb, like nothing needs touching on it. So it was a really healthy yield on there too. So yeah, we do a lot of buy-to-lets like that between kind of that price up until 100,000 seems to be like a really popular like area, because then really with 25% mortgage down, you need about 25,000 to invest in those, and they have been one of our popular buys.
Amazing. And there's two things I want to talk about because I've seen them on social media. The recent development that you've been working on, which is a massive development, if I recall, and then the £10,000 house that I want to touch upon. So yeah, if you could let us know a little bit more about those two deals, that would be amazing.
Yeah, they were both super cool. So the £10,000 house was actually secured through the council, and it was like a really cool project done by a client of mine. So I was definitely keeping close to that to kind of see the project and see the progress on that. That was really cool. And yeah, there's not many of those around at all. That's kind of like the one-off. But that was amazing. But like, it needed everything doing to it if you looked at the original photos. So that was really cool. And then the other one, do you mean like the land?
Was it the development that you had? I think it was already refurbed and had flats going, or was that the one?
We've had a few.
You only just recently posted it within the last week or something like that, and I think they'd all gone.
Okay, yeah. So we've had like a Dewsbury, like new build apartments.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, they've been really popular as well. And that was working with a developer, so it was a bit different. And with that, because they're all like brand new, it's a lot of investors like that side of things because we know like everything is covered. And in those ones we had a rental guarantee as well, so that like you were walking into like you couldn't lose basically. Yeah. And if you can package up a deal in a way that they can't lose, it's hard for them to say no, because every question or concern they have, you're like, oh no, you've got that covered. So that gives them a lot more confidence when they're buying.
That's amazing. And it's great to see that you're securing now from going into buy to lets, now you're going into land, you're going into new builds, you're going into all of these different types of deals. Did you ever imagine yourself that you would actually get this big and continue going on to bigger things?
No, not at all. Like honestly, like when I started it was just a hobby. Like I said, it was just a blog that I was posting out on. So the fact that I've been able to then do this full time, which I absolutely love, has been really amazing. But there's still lots to do, and lots I want to get after, and some exciting things coming up, definitely.
Amazing. And that leads you on to, where do you see yourself in maybe the next 5 years?
Wow. That's crazy. So in the next 5 years, we would like to definitely grow and scale the sales side of things, and sourcing, do some cool like bigger projects, land, and have that process really great. But also the education is like an important part for me as well, because that's like your next pipeline of customers that will be able to then buy. So it's so important, and that's what I actually really love doing, is like when you work with someone and you see them from the start to then like sometimes we're talking to customers for like 6 months to a year before they secure a property, and once they secure it and complete, like that's so nice to see that whole process of like starting out knowing nothing, and then kind of educating them every step of the way until they have an asset there that's going to look after them and their family for life, really. So that's really rewarding. So definitely want to strengthen the education side of things as well.
Perfect. And you've just recently launched something in the education space. I'd love to love for you to share some more of that.
Yes, we have launched the kommunity, which is a community group for property investors, from beginners or for people looking to grow and scale their portfolio. And it's a really cool group. I've actually loved, like, I think we launched last Thursday, and I've just loved like meeting everyone so far. But in that, it is a network of people, so you can grow, develop, and we'll all learn together. There'll be monthly coaching calls. There's a lot of education and value we're adding in there. And also they get early access to all the KO deals ahead of time. So our deals do get snapped up quite quickly. So it's just that that first place to look, but it's just like such a great community that if anyone's got a question, they've got people around them to answer. You can partner with joint ventures. There's just going to be so many guest speakers in there as well, which I'm super excited about. And we're starting with a buyer's boot camp. So each month we cover a different topic, starting from right at the start of the buying process right through to completion, and every stage you need to look at to get there as well. So that'll be super cool.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. And it's quite different to what other people are doing in the education space. And I think being hands-on and just going step by step rather than kind of picking and choosing what you want to kind of focus on, because that's what you're focusing on, really does really differentiate what you're doing in this space. I will put the links below and we'll run through them at the end. But one question I wanted to ask is, how have you been growing your investor list? As I know other sources will be looking at this and other potential investors will be looking at this, but yeah, how do you, I guess, compile your investor list, and what is the qualification process that you go for those investors?
Yes, we're up to about 10,000 now.
Oh, wow.
So we have so it's grown quite quickly, and it's all been done through social media. We've never paid for any adverts. It's all been kind of organic growth, mainly through Instagram, but we do have TikTok and Facebook as well. But it's we've got different options. We've got like the investors club where they get all the deals sent to them, and then we've got an investor specifics, so it's kind of split into two, and that's for people who have a very set criteria. So some people are really open, and as long as it hits the numbers, they're happy, and that group's for them. But others are looking for something a bit more specific. Maybe that's a location, a price, and they can put in exactly what they're looking for, and as soon as we have something that meets their criteria, they'll be first to know about it. So we've reached a lot of people just through social media. Like reels have seemed to like do really well, and reach a lot of people too. So just getting in front, like getting our account in front of those eyes, getting them to the website, and then also like delivering on the value you said you'll promise. So like with freebies and monthly updates. So that's really how we've done it. But I'm not opposed to advertising or anything like that. It's something we will look at, but at the moment we've just been kind of running on that, the growth we've seen so far.
Yeah, amazing. And I think one thing I like about your page is that you've been showcasing the properties that you've been doing, and there's not much on your like feed and your reels. There's no selling involved, and I think I've seen other people who are just focused on the selling side of that. And I guess your stories is where you post the deals. But I guess, have you got any tips for anyone who is trying to grow on social media?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. Like people don't want to be sold to all the time. Like I imagine I'm the customer, and when you just get sold to all the time, you just like you turn off. But if you're providing content that's really valuable, like people are really interested in, then that definitely helps growth, because people are hungry for the information and to learn, and if you're able to provide that to them, then they're definitely going to be more engaged. And yeah, let people in and knowing you and what you're up to. And but definitely reels is my top tip for Instagram, if they seem to be really pushing them at the moment to kind of compete with TikTok. So yeah, that's probably the best way at the moment to grow your Instagram, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of reels, and I literally post one like every single day. There's just so much fun to create as well. And yeah, you can put what we both try and do is just put the property spin on it. And some posts like you physically cannot do, but there's loads where you can just put a property spin off on it. But I've seen like more and more people getting into the reels now.
Yeah, they are so much fun. They're much more engaging as well than a photo. People get to know you a bit more, and you can just like give a bit more information in there. So it is good fun.
Yeah, perfect. So you started in lockdown. You didn't know you were getting into the sourcing side. You started social media, and you've been blowing up on social media. what challenges have you been facing since you started?
Like loads. I think one of the first real challenge that we fell upon was like at the start I was just like, okay, well if I sell these, like perfect, like, and that was like my main priority, is to just like sell, get people on the phone, get people chatting, understand what they want and get the right property for them. And then like we were just like, brilliant, the progression will let it sort out itself. And that's something that we've like really concentrated on. We've got like a team dedicated to it now, because there is like, the selling is like the first part, but that's when the hard work starts, because you need to get them from like sale agreed to completion, and all that takes a lot of especially at the moment, all solicitors just seem to be super busy. So like organizing that can just be a headache, and then there's always hiccups and things that need to be smoothed out. So that's like something I really overlooked at the start, was definitely the progression side of things.
Yeah, and it's something that you learn on the go, isn't it? You know, your first deal is never going to be your best deal. Actually, it might be, but you know, it's never going to be a smooth process. And that's one thing that I wanted to touch on, which I forgot to ask earlier, is with the education side. I know you mentioned that there's two types of investors: one who have zero idea what a sorter is, and people who are experienced investors and know what a property sorter is. Did you ever have any setbacks with people saying, okay, why do I need to pay a property deal sourcer? And what is the work that actually goes into it? Because I think a lot of the work is not seen. Yes, we understand that, you know, when I work with property sources, it's like, okay, yeah, you get the property, but I know there's a lot of work involved, and it would just be good to understand the level of work to justify why you need to pay a property sourcer.
Yeah, so I know what you mean, because like a lot of people also, they've never heard of one before, so paying just to buy a property does seem a bit backwards, but they do a lot of the hard work for you. So they're scouring the market, they've got the links to the local agents, they do the due diligence on the property, they'll go check it out, they will make sure that all the numbers stack up. If it's not something that I would buy, like I would never pass it on to someone else. So literally there's like a lot of numbers work to do, but also like we're able to get now properties that aren't on the market that you can't get anywhere else. So it's not like you can just look on Rightmove, but we've also got the local knowledge of like which areas to look in, and then the actual streets of that area of which one's good, which one's not. And there is a lot of like local knowledge we can add as well. So there's we're really here to kind of like save you time and make you more money. So yeah, you do pay for convenience of using an expert, and I'd always recommend that in most things you do. Like using a PT, you're going to get to your goal quicker if you use someone that really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, especially for outside investors when they don't live in that area, because I remember when I first bought my property, I had zero ideas. I think because my first property was in Burnley as well. And when I went there, like some of the houses were boarded up, and I was like, at least I didn't make that decision to, you know, buy. I think there was like 8 houses boarded up and maybe like a couple at the end. I was like, oh my God, I wish I knew this before, because if I bought one of those properties, I don't know what had happened. But yeah, it's just so important to know, because like you guys are there living in the area, you know exactly where to find the best deals. You work with estate agents who tell you as well, and just those relationships and the scalability. You're able to secure so many properties, and because this is your full-time job, right? So you're able to secure so many properties that you can actually help someone scale, that they don't need to go and spend another X amount of time going to find another property and doing the research on that.
Yeah, exactly. If someone comes to us and is really looking to scale quite aggressively, they'll need like, I need 4, we can be like, well, here's the best 5, you pick. So it's really just like gathering all that data and saving them a lot of time on that too.
Yeah, I definitely see the value in property sources, and I just want to make sure that other people do know why you guys charge X amount for the property, because of all the hard work that it's gone into. And at the end of the day, like if they're fluffing around, that's your money to be made as well. Like it's a business, and people have to respect that this is, you know, your business, this is how you make your money. You can't just faff around and then lose the deal and not get paid at the end of it. Obviously you can't control what happens with the property, but you know, it's still a business at the end of the day, and people need to respect that. I just get so angry when it comes to it, but yeah, it's another topic for another day. But I guess just the last 2 pointers, what are your top tips for any property sources trying to get out in the market, and what are your top tips for investors who are looking for property sources?
So if you're looking to be a sourcer, I think it's such an amazing way to get into property, because you don't need much to be able to get into it. It's not like you need loads of money or anything like that. All the information's out there on the internet, and it's also such a great place to start because you learn very quickly what you need, what makes a good investment, what a good investment looks like. You get very practical. You're looking around properties, what build teams. It gives you the really foundations. But then if you want to go and invest in yourself, you know exactly what areas are good to do that, what a good investment looks like in that area. You can kind of like go to a property and go, yeah, that is good value, or no, that's not good value, because you've really like grounded yourself in all that knowledge. So I think being a sourcer is a great place to start in property, definitely. And if you're an investor looking for a sourcer, I'd always recommend it. Not that I'm biased, but and not even necessarily me, but like you do need that expert on your side. Like if you're investing a considerable amount of money into a property, no matter what property you buy, really, you want to make sure it is a good buy, that you're maximizing your investment, and a sourcer can definitely get you a better deal and make sure your money goes as far as it can, so that it's an investment that will like last you forever and your family. So you do want to make sure you're doing it right, and that expert on hand is always a good help.
Amazing. They're two great points, and just like working with experts, I think I mean, for me, I work with property sources. Like it's just a must for me, because I don't live in the area and I can't be bothered to not can't be bothered, but that's the wrong terminology, but like I'm just not going to be an expert in that area. So working with someone who is an expert is just it just makes life so much easier, especially if you are working full time. So yeah, massive advocate for it. Is there any before we go on to your social media links, is there any final comments or tips or anything that you want to add?
Just definitely start today. Like no matter if property is something like you want to do, just like always, the best day to start is today, no matter like whether you're just looking at deals or you want to find more information. There's so much information out there. Like definitely I'd always pro property.
And that leads me on to, how do people find out about the deals that you have and community? I keep saying community.
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at KO Estates, and we have recently opened a community Instagram as well, so you can catch us there, and all the links are on our socials. So definitely join the fun. We'd love to see you there.
Perfect. And I'll put your links below so people can find them easily. You've also started a YouTube channel, which I will put the link in as well. And yeah, it was amazing talking to you and learning more about you. You've got so much going on, so I do appreciate your time, and I'm just looking forward to seeing more of your content and the deals that you're securing. So thank you so